It was a dark and stormy night in the Maryland suburbs of Washington, D.C. I was 5 years old, and my kid brother, Harvey, was 3. It was the third night of Hanukkah. My mother was in the kitchen preparing potato latkes. She had been shredding potatoes and onions all day long, by hand. This was the pre-Cuisinart era. The latkes were now sizzling on the griddle. Homemade applesauce was warming in the oven. The aromas from the apples and cinnamon, potatoes and onion filled our home. I glanced out the window. Snow was coming down quickly, and it was sticking to the pavement. Maybe school would be canceled tomorrow. The storm outside, coupled with the festivities inside, made me feel safe. Mom set up the menorah and called everyone to the table. Pretty soon, all of us, Mom, Dad, Harvey, and I, stood in the dining room. My parents explained the plan. Mom would light the shamus candle and hand it to me. The shamus candle was used solely to light the other candles. And since this was the third night of Hanukkah, there would be 3 candles to light. I was to take the shamus and with it light the first candle, then pass the shamus on to Harvey, and he would use it to light the second candle. Harvey would pass it to Dad, who would light the third and final candle for that evening. There was something about this plan that did not sit right with the 5-year-old me. Why should Harvey and I light the same number of candles? I should light more candles than Harvey because I was older. Before he came along, my life had been paradise. I had my mother all to myself. My father was the only male in the house, the undisputed king of the castle. Once Harvey showed up with his little pecker, Dad got tense. Mom lost her focus on me. She was always harried with Harvey, and it's been concession after concession, and now I was reduced to lighting 1 candle. Mom lit the shamus, passed it on to me, slowly and deliberately. I savored every moment as I lit the first candle. And then, without missing a beat, I lit the second candle too. As I handed the shamus to Harvey, I stuck my tongue out at him. He ignored me, quickly lit candle number 3, then he took the shamus and set my hair on fire. I started screaming and crying. My mother quickly smothered my fire hair with a dish towel. She whisked me into the bathroom, and as I leaned over the sink, flamingo pink porcelain, it was the 50s, she brushed my charred curls into the basin. The disgusting stench of burnt human hair now filled our home. I don't recall my parents chastising either one of us that night. They were keenly aware of the big emotions wreaking havoc on their little children. Both of my parents had sibling battles of their own, especially my mother. She and her brother, they were always at each other's throats. He would remind her that she had plucked a cherry off his hot fudge sundae when he was 7. She would shoot back with, "Oh, don't be such a baby." Now, this is not to imply that our family was at all estranged. We got together constantly. We lived within a 5-mile radius. Holiday dinners, Sunday brunches, summer barbecues, lots of family together time. Decades later, after my parents passed away, Harvey thought that as sole male heir who ran his own business, he should be executor of the estate. I thought that because I was the oldest and more sensible, that should be my job. Well, guess what? My parents named us co-executors of the estate. Well, working with Harvey was hell. He'd call me first thing in the morning before I had my requisite 2 cups of coffee. He'd say, "Stop crying over every photo and clear everything out of the basement. We have to sell the house right away." Then I'd call him in the evening, just before his nightly beer, and say, "You're wrong to throw Dad's papers in the trash. After you left today, I had a professional shredding company. They stopped by, and they disposed of Dad's papers properly." Actually, Harvey and I made a good team. He was absolutely right about the real estate market. We sold the house a few months before the big crash, and I took care of so many details. Nevertheless, once the estate was settled, we barely spoke to each other. Unlike the previous generation, we don't live in proximity. Harvey, his wife, and their one and only child live on the Atlantic coast, facing east. My husband and I, plus our one and only child, are on the Pacific coast, facing west. Of course, sibling rivalry is in our DNA. I mean, there's Cain and Abel, Isaac and Ishmael, Jacob and Esau, Leah and Rachel, Harvey and Ellen. We are a mere link in a very long chain. Recently, Harvey and I have begun to heal the rift. Occasionally, we talk on the phone. I take a deep breath and tiptoe through the valley of the eggshells. And Harvey, I can hear him straining against impulse, trying not to take everything I say as an attack. And I try to remember the good times, of which there were so many. Like when I first got my driver's license and the 2 of us drove to Dunkin' Donuts. We bought the variety pack, a dozen donuts, and we took 1 bite out of each one. We then rearranged the dozen, fixed the box up like new, and presented it to our parents. "Wow, donuts!" my father exclaimed as he reached for the honey dipped. "Hey, this has a hole in it, a bite. Someone took a bite out of my donut." My mother gingerly selected the jelly-filled. "Mine has a bite in it, too. Oh my gosh, they took a bite out of every donut." Harvey and I collapsed in hysterics. We laughed about the donut caper all night long. The next morning, I looked at 15-year-old Harvey, and he looked at 17-year-old me. And for the first time, it felt different, as if we were seeing each other with new eyes, as siblings, minus the rivalry. Were we on the verge of a new relationship where we could finally experience forgiveness? Well, not quite. 4 years after the Hanukkah incident, we got a baby sister, Nancy. She's a gentle soul, and unlike Harvey and me, she is not a lightning rod for whatever mishigas might be flying around, whereas Harvey and I are drawn to it like moths to a flame. Age-wise, we're 2 years apart. Maybe if there were 3 years between us, it would have been different. Or maybe it's just our personalities. Forgiveness, that's not our style, but we give each other another gift. We see each other, we hear each other, and we accept each other. Acceptance for who we are. Who could ask for more?